So howdy doody. I'm in Rahotep. It's a blessing to be here this morning. It's a lot of great things that have happened. Thank you all for being here. We got a couple of special guests today that you're going to hear from. And have to say the class is wonderful. Brother May Nuam Pim is leading. Thank you, brother. Continue to drop that knowledge. Good to see Mama Crystal in the house. You always welcome. You know that. We go way back. I think we started coming to Rose about the same time in 1982, thereabouts. We were in the neighborhood, in the ministry. So it's good to see everybody this morning. We're going to move forward. It's time for our historical tribute. And we know that history is important to us. And we have someone coming this morning who's been teaching in our community. He's a stand-up brother, because this brother has to come from Stockton. And I come from West Oakland. I know it's a little effort to get here from West Oakland. But if you come from Stockton, you got a commitment, right? And so with that, please welcome for our historical tribute this morning, Brother Cater.
All right. I'm in Rahotep, family. This morning, my historical presentation will be on the short but spectacular life of Srinivasa Ramanujan. Now, before you raise your eyebrows as to why I chose him for African historical presentation, just let the information unfold. Srinivasa was born in the city of Erode in the South Indian region of Tamil Nadu in 1887. His personal name means prosperous, while his family name means he who contains a particle of the god Rama. He was when growing up, he was a promising student who won academic prizes in high school, but his life took a decisive turn when he received a copy of a book called A Synopsis of Elementary Results in Pure and Applied Mathematics, which was a preparatory aid for math students facing the notoriously difficult tri-post examination. And you have to remember that during this time, India was still under British colonization. And this examination involved a great deal of memorization. So this book was to help students prepare for it and cope with memorizing certain formulas and so on and so forth. But in reading this book, it spurred a burst of mathematical activity in his life. And as he became immersed in the book's results, this obsession was also disastrous for his college career, as he repeatedly failed his college exams because he was only focusing on one area. He became so fascinated with mathematics. And because of that, he eventually dropped out, and he lived off the charity of others while filling his notebooks with mathematical discoveries. The Indian mathematician Ramachandra Rao discovered him and provided him with his first modest subsidy, and later gave him a post as a clerk in the Madras Port Trust. In 1911, he had his first paper published, which was a 17-page work on Bernoulli numbers. Don't bother to ask me what they are right now. And it was published in the Journal of Indian Mathematical, the Mathematical Society. Now, that's a picture of him. If you can see it, it's out of focus, but there's not too many, it's only a couple pictures of him available, because he had a very short life. While no one was absolutely sure if he was a genius or a crank, he took it upon himself to write letters and submit some of his theories to the top mathematicians in England, and which he didn't. The first two attempts, he received no response, but on the third attempt, in 1913, G.H. Hardy, who was, like I said, one of the top mathematicians at Cambridge University, became intrigued with the 10-page treatise that he sent him containing about 120 statements of theorems on infinite series, on improper integrals and continued fractions, and number theory, which he shared with his collaborator, J.E. Littlewood. Their conclusion was that these theories must be true, because if they were not true, no one would have had the imagination to invent them. After Hardy's written response to Srinivasa, in India, his status immediately grew, and he was named a research scholar at the University of Madras, and his salary was instantly doubled, and at his post, he was only required to file a quarterly report on his work. However, as usual with colonial powers, they felt free to mine the resources of all that was under their control. So Hardy was determined to bring him to England so that they could tap into his brain and claim it for themselves. But his mother resisted at first, and now this is a curious statement in his biography that I came across a couple of times. They said that his mother resisted due to high caste Indian, the feeling of high caste Indians in shunning travel to foreign lands. Now, this is where I got to interject and provide a little background on the caste system in India. That, and I'm taking a few excerpts of a essay that was written by Iniyan Ilango, a MD in southern India, and his essay was posted by Runoko Rashidi on the internet. And he's the author of a book called Without Malice, The Truth About India. In it, he says lower caste Hindus in South India, or the Tamil Nadu section, tend to be black-skinned because, unlike the rest of India, where the caste system was introduced by the Aryans by enslaving the indigenous Dravidians, the caste system was introduced to in Tamil Nadu by making the Dravidians, or the Tamilians, accept the caste system under the garb of religious conversion, by making the black Tamil kings convert from Buddhism and Jainism to the Hindu caste religion. And it's interesting, one of the means of seducing the Tamil kings was the promise of their being able to marry or become intimate with Brahmin princesses or young ladies. Anyway, sound familiar? Anyway, to go on, skipping down, it says the Brahmins have divided the Tamils into untouchable Sudras. There's of the lower class Dalits, as they're known, or the Dravidians. They were divided into two classes: the Shudras, who were the touchables, and the untouchable class were the Dalits, the lowest of the low, the untouchables. So when they referred to him as being of higher caste, I guess he was at that upper level, the touchable class, but he was still Dravidian, and should make a point that it was Africans who settled India, and in 1500 BCE, the Aryans or Brahmins invaded from the north and drove the indigenous Africans to the southern tip of India and into Ceylon, or what is now Sri Lanka. So, and another comment he had was that just like it's not uncommon to find fair-skinned people among Dalits, just like there are some fair-skinned African Americans, but they are marked in India by their indigenous features. So if you have the indigenous features, as Brother Srinivasa is, he would be considered, Dravidian. So back to his life. Now, during their during their 5-year collaboration in England, Hardy, who was a great exponent of rigor in analysis, was mystified by how Ramanujan's results were arrived at by a process of mingled argument, intuition, and induction, of which he was entirely unable to give a coherent account, according to Hardy. An example would be the formula for the partitions of numbers. And example would be that on the right. The partition is of a number n, an expression for n is as a sum of positive integers regardless of the order. So the partition of the number 4 would equal 5 because 4 can be expressed or written as 1 plus 1 plus 1, or 1 plus 1 plus 2, or 2 plus 2, or 1 plus 3, or 4. So it's just a basic theory, but yeah. but it has multiple applications and multiple uses in mathematics.
Are you saying 4 is 5?
Huh?
4 is 5?
But the partition,
I see.
yeah, of 4 is equal to 5.
I see.
And this was a formula here for computing pi that he came up with. So anyway, he would eventually have over 30 papers published and was granted a Bachelor of Science degree by research. So without having to go through all the classes, they just said, you got a bachelor's. And so he was elected as a fellow of the Royal Society, and he was the first Indian to do so, to be elected. However, the culture and climate took a toll on his health as he was, and this is the reason they gave, was that, okay, I'll rush through this. As he was used to the culture of India and his strict vegetarian diet and his mother's cooking. But there's evidence that he may have been in poor health before he went there. But anyway, in 1917, he was hospitalized with the doctors fearing for his life, and by late 1918, his health had improved, and he returned to India in 1919. But his health reversed again once he was there, and while on his deathbed, and he was a devout Hindu, he received a visitation from the goddess Namagiri, an avatar of the Hindu goddess Lakshmi, who was a consort of the lion god Narasimha, who was known as the Great Protector and was the avatar of Vishnu. And this personal god, who was his personal god that was worshipped in the region he was from. And in this visitation, or this dreamlike state that he went into, what was revealed to him was the knowledge of and formulas for 17 new functions which mimicked theta functions or modular form, which and just let you take a look at it. These are theta functions and theta curves, and he which have a repeating pattern are considered supersymmetric, so that when Mobius functions are introduced into their calculation, they turn back into themselves. So, but they're useful in many types of math and physics, including string theory. However, his analysis was not discovered, or theta curves were not discovered. And he later died the next year, 1920. So this is an extremely powerful number. And the point I want to get to is this, that I remember I was going through some teachers training classes, and they were introducing the idea that the reason some students have difficulty learning is that they learn differently, and they're exploring different ways to teach kids, tactile, spatial, all those other, and we may have to include for the survival and success of our children and people, we may have to consider spiritual means in order to instruct and teach them. So that's my point. But Srinivasa Ramanujan. This is a picture of the goddess. She's usually painted black in some of her images, and this is a book about him called The Man Who Knew Infinity by Robert Canigel, and that was a bust that's I think is in England of him. So, okay.
I want to thank Brother Kesa. We have a very special guest this morning. She's going to come and share some music with us in this moment. I met her, I think, through when you were 18 years old. And they perform with lots of different folks around the country and here in Oakland, including Roberta Flack, Peebo Bryson, Melissa Manchester, Nancy Wilson, and countless others. Recently, I got a chance to hear and witness her music as part of a tribute to Nina Simone at the Life is Living Festival in Defirmary Park, and it was off the chain. She's performing at the New Parish. She's doing some work with another friend of mine, Alan Dones, who is helping create a museum for slavery and freedom in Ghana, and she's one of the curators for the content of the museum. She does a lot of work here in Oakland and the Bay Area around food justice issues. And without any further ado, please welcome Jennifer Gines.
There is God alive, and war alive, and strong like only some show. There is sad alive, and mad alive, and had life we know. But by my light be I spirit, and by my heart be I woman. By my eyes be I open, and by my hands be I whole. They say slowly brings the least shine, but no matter how slow I walk, I leave traces, empty spaces, and doors of light. But by my light be I spirit, and by my heart be I woman. By my eyes be I open, and by my hands be I whole. Listen, there are waters beneath us, and a well will find them still. I'll take you to them. You take your young ones, and may they take their own in turn, and by our light be we know we'll choose it well, though we try hard. Some will fall prey to the jaded jewels, but still by our light be we spirits, and by our hearts be we human. By our eyes be we open, and by our hands be we hold. By our hands be we hold. By our hands be we hold. I wrote this song while I was in Hawaii. It kind of, no, not the trap.
Oh, you want to do it?
Yeah.
Never
You
worry.
would happen to feel like it too. Anybody who feels like banging on the drum in this moment, that's all right with me. Got to be your own light and let it guide you always. When the skies do get gray, you will be the sunlight, burning dark clouds away, blazing into the night. Yeah, 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 yeah. Lean into the divine and let the universe play. You'll manifest in your life what you think on all day. Keep them dreams elevated, focus words in that way. You will then be of service to mankind, come what may. Love, 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 love. I'm gonna sing that again. There ain't no rules to this life. You've got to live for today. Got to be your own light and let it guide you always. When the skies do get gray, you will be the sunlight, burning dark clouds away, blazing into the night. Love, love, love. You lean into the divine, let the universe play. You'll manifest in your life what you think on all day. Keep them dreams elevated, focus words in that way. You will then be of service to mankind, come what may. Love, sing that. Ashe, Ashe, oh, louder, y'all. There ain't no wrong way to do it. Ashe, oh, bring it down, just Ashe. I want to hear y'all sing. Ashe, oh. There ain't no rules to this life. Got to live for today. Got to be your own light and let it guide you always. When the skies don't get gray, Lord, you be the sunlight, burning dark clouds away, blazing into the night. It's God's love. See, that's the divine love. You see, that's God's love. Supreme divine love. Lean into the divine. Let the universe play. You manifest in your life, Lord, what you think on all day. You know your dreams are elevated. Your words are that way. You will then be of service to mankind. Come on, man, my God. My supreme love. See, that's the divine love. Supreme love. Ashe, oh. Ashe, oh. Ashe, oh. Ashe, oh. Thank you, guys.
All right.
All right, Wose, now is the time for our litany of sacrifice. And this is the time when we come together in focus on the growth of our community. We give and contribute towards the growth in our community. Praise goodness for the knowledge that prosperity is not focused and centered in money. We have spiritual prosperity here today. We have the wonderful gifts that have been given to each of us, and we contribute those gifts towards the growth and the celebration of our community. We come together in prayer and in praise, and we give thanks. Today's readings come to us from Mott, the 11 Laws of God, and One Day My Soul Just Opened Up by Ayanna Van Zandt and Ra Neframim. If we have spiritual, emotional power, we must have a way of invoking it. This is the function of our verbal affirmations of beliefs on the lower scale and knowledge on the higher. Ayanna Van Zandt shares with us that divine is already within us. Our job is to acknowledge its presence and ask that power to manifest in us and through us to give us the strength to do whatever it is we need to do. We know what to do. We simply need the strength to do it. My prayer is for us to acknowledge our own divinity and call it forth as our strength. So as we prepare our offerings, Mama Fania and Mama Consuelo are moving through the audience and collecting them, and we have Sister Connie prepared to care for the altar and light our candles. And so if we could all stand and prepare to recite the litany of sacrifice, which you can find in the Worship Companion and Songbook, the Black Binders, And we also have them if you have a placard with you at your seat. So we'll allow the offerings to be gathered. Oh, and we have Sister Jalea also helping out with the collection. Good job, sister. Alrighty, so if we could all stand and prepare to recite the litany. Save us, O Holy One, by your name. Vindicate us by your might. Hear my prayer, divine protector. Listen to the words of my mouth. How can we repay the Holy One for the gifts that have been given to us? We will lift up the cup of salvation and call upon the God of our ancestors. We will fulfill our vows to our Creator in the presence of all our people. Gladly we bring our sacrifices to you. We will praise your name, O Amun-Ra, for it is good. Umoja, unity. We shall strive to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race.
Self-determination. We shall define, name, create, and speak for ourselves.
Ujima, collective work and responsibility. We shall build and maintain our community together. Our brothers and sisters' problems shall be ours to solve together.
Ujima, cooperative economics. Together we shall build and maintain our own businesses and together profit from it.
Nia, purpose. We shall make our collective vocation the building and development of our community and the restoration of our people to our traditional greatness.
Umba, creativity. We shall do as much as we can in any way we can to leave our community more beautiful than when we inherited it.
And together we say Imani, faith. We shall believe with all our hearts in our Creator, our people, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. Amun-Ra. So kneeling pads have been prepared at the altar, and we invite you to come forth if you would like to kneel in prayer or take a prayerful position. You may be seated, or take a prayerful position at your seats as we prepare to bless the offerings that we have received. Thank you, Jalea. And Mama Fania, of course. So let's just turn within, focusing our mind on the infinite nature of the Most High. We give thanks and we acknowledge our oneness with the Most High, with the one mind, with the one spirit, with the one life. We recognize that we are co-creators with the Most High, and as we give to our community and keep the vision at the forefront of our minds of the growth of this wonderful community, it can only happen because we are working with the powers of the divine and the Most High. We give thanks for all the offerings that we have been given today, and we ask Most High God that they be directed exactly where they should be to help us to grow this community tenfold, manifold into the community that we know our greater community and the world needs. Keep us focused, Most High God, on our divine work. Keep us focused, Most High God, on our divine research, the educational pursuits and efforts as led by our teachers and our community leaders. We're thankful for them, God, and we ask you to lift them up, hold them in prayer and praise, keep them healthy so that they can continue to give with the special gifts that you have bestowed upon them. We ask you, Lord, to watch over our community, all people in it. Watch over our greater community and help us to be the beacon of light that we know that Oakland, that California, that America, that the world, and particularly all Africans all over the world need. Help us be a unifying force. Help us be a healing presence in our greater community. We ask you to continue to allow us to receive these blessings as we opened up our minds and to the infinite nature of you, Most High, and grow our community in conjunction with that infinite vision. We thank you for the reality of your power, and we come humbly before you to say thank you for already granting our prayers, for we know that as we have put it out into the universe, it cannot return to us void. It is already done. It is already taken care of, and we rest in that knowledge. And we close this prayer by saying Ashe, Amen Ra.
As we move forward this afternoon now, I want to remind most of you and invite the rest of you to a special celebration next Sunday. We'll be in Roberts Park observing the spring equinox. Our ancestors were often outdoors. As city people, we act like outdoors is different. Like being indoors is different. Most of the people in the world spend most of their time outside. Right? And so we in Northern California are uniquely blessed because we live in a very beautiful place. I mean, this is not like, no insult intended, but this is not like, West Texas. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to West Texas, but this is like real flat and dry and kind of uninteresting. I'm sure there's interesting things there, don't get me wrong, because all the creation is interesting, but some parts of creation are a little bit more interesting than others. When you have redwood trees, like within 10 minutes of your house, when you have creeks and streams, when you can actually get your children outside. A few years ago, we took some kids from McClymonds High School up to the woods up in Sonoma, and it was for a retreat. And after about a day, the children were like, they were scared. And they was like, it's scary out here. We was like, well, why is it scary? Because it's quiet. They were accustomed to sirens and people doing donuts in the middle of the block and chaos and quiet. So we got to change that up. So part of our work here at Wose is to take ourselves at least and minimally 4 times a year out in the nature. So it's the spring equinox is upon us. It's time for planting. We invite you to come at 10:30 to Roberts Park. We'll be in the Huckleberry site. We'll be sending out email blasts on the directions. If you don't know, you can go to East Bay Regional Parks website to get directions if you need them. We'll be there celebrating. We usually take a meditation walk into the woods. Sister Tracy found this great quote from Dr. Carver who talks about go out in the woods and listen. Dr. Carver's work, as a great scientist, he said every day he went outside and he listened to what nature had to say before he went to his laboratory. And when he wrote about that, the scientific community chastised him. They said, well, scientists don't talk like that. Dr. Carver, who was one of the best trained scientists of his generation, of any generation, wrote an article. If you ever want to go see this, Google it, go see it. It's a New York Times editorial piece. And he lays out his credential. So he lays out, I graduated from the University of Iowa, and I read these books, and I studied this. And he lays out his credential and then says, and when I go into the laboratory, I leave my books outside, and I take God in with me. And scientists do talk like that. It's like just like the historical tribute today. So when we get outside, we want to walk and listen to what nature has to tell us. We want to invite you to bring offerings of fruit, because we're going to establish a little altar, as we always do, and invite you to really come and be with us. We'll have a very short acknowledgement of several of our new members. They've passed one of the thresholds of being new members, and we'll do acknowledgement of them. But please join us, and then we'll have a lot of fun with the children. There's a pool. There will be a meditation, a moving meditation. You going to do moving meditation? Brother Davis is going to bless us with a moving meditation. Ed, thank you. So it's going to be a wonderful time. The weather is nice. And even we've been out when it was raining. Because here we go. Nature is about rain, dry. It was beautiful being in the rain in the redwoods. It was a little chilly because, black people don't like being cold. But that's okay. That's why we got coats and sweaters and boots and hats and gloves. I was in New York, this past week, and it was 30 degrees. It's cold. This is not cold. right? So in a moment, we're going to ask Jennifer to come and bless us with another selection. And then the next voice you will hear after her is a very special friend. She has been someone who has been a leader on this community and around the country, particularly on youth issues and issues around our community. She was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, and every time I hear her talk about how she was raised, she was like good black people. Like, will keep you in check, right? Tell you what to do. You don't have to wonder about it, right? She, I believe, is a graduate of Stanford University. She is studying for the ministry at the Holmes Institute. Dereca has been, among other things, the executive director of Leadership Excellence, one of our outstanding African-centered organizations for young people here in the city. They do Camp Akili. Under her leadership, they were taking children to Ghana. They were the home for Freedom Schools, which some of us started in the early 90s and then passed it on to Leadership Excellence. She's been doing work in Omaha, Nebraska, and all over the country. She was part of the National Hip Hop Political Convention in 2004 as an organizer. She's been part of the National CARES mentoring movement work and is writing curricular materials for them. She's outstanding. And she's a good sister. She's a mama, she's a wife, and she's a friend. So after we hear from Jennifer, you're going to be blessed to hear from Sister Minister Dereca Blackmon. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In all things I choose to vibrate higher. I get lifted like a moon in a cobalt sky, watching abandoned hearts run through the open wide, not judging the trauma that occupies the night. Let this sound be my portal. Let this be light I see by. Let this be where I am humble, only to pour out the divine. My cup cannot run it over, for I too grow with a blessing. See, I always knowing I am one with the source of my
It is absolutely a blessing to be home. I want to just give thanks to the Wosei community for holding fast. So many of us have entered this work and studied this teaching, and sometimes we lose our way. And so it's a blessing to have a community that becomes an institution that we can count on and come back to. So I'm grateful to Wosei for being here and holding fast. Thank you. I'm just so blessed by the convergence of good that I've stepped into. There's really, not a lot more to do when Brother Maynu was teaching in the morning, and, Mama Fanya is doing the prayer, and Jennifer singing, and my brother, my teacher, my friend, Minister Greg, is giving the introduction. I really could just clap my hands and but the Most High uses us when we let it. And so there's work to be done, and I'm to raise my voice. I want to talk to us about reclaiming our children. It's like when you get off the plane and you're looking for your bag, and you see that pile of bags sitting over there in the corner, and you know that's not your bag. But you wonder why they sitting there. Who do those belong to? We starting to look at our babies like bags in the corner. Who do those belong to? See, there was a time where community was about proximity. It was a physical thing. See, our young people notice. They clamor, they cling for it. They repping they street numbers. Because community was a place where we lived, and your neighbors was your community. And then they introduced all type of warfare, chemical, nutritional, media, guns, weapons into our communities. They became war zones, and neighbors became enemies. We scared of what's going on in the house next door. And of course, if they had any intelligence at all, they would make us afraid of our babies. Because how do you kill a people that's growing? You got to wipe out the babies. So I want to start with a story. As Baba Greg said, I was blessed to serve in the leadership excellence for many years. And it was an incredible opportunity to be with our children. And there was a young brother there who had gotten into some trouble and was facing his third strike. They were trying to give him 2 strikes for stealing a sandwich when he was hungry. And let me just tell you how nefarious and crazy, but crazy like a fox, the criminal injustice system is. The way this works is he went to Safeway and he stole a sandwich. He got into a scuffle with the security guard, and they tried to charge him for assault with the security guard. That was going to be 1 felony strike. But the stealing of the sandwich, the reason why the sandwich was a felony is because he entered the store without money. So that's considered premeditated. He planned to steal something because had he entered the store with money, right? Like some of those suburban children who steal. Had he entered the store with money and stolen something, well, then that would have just been a misdemeanor. But because he was poor when he entered, because he was hungry when he stole, it was a felony. Now, this was one of our babies. And so we showed up. We wrote letters, and we came into the court. And now this brother walked in to the court in his orange jumpsuit on his way to 3 strikes, which, as Barbara Lee ran around and tried to tell us when they first passed it, was going to lock up an entire generation for life until they got so crowded they had to let them back out after dehumanizing them. So we show up in the courtroom. They're ready to give him life for a sandwich. And the judge looked up at about 15, 20 of us and said, "Oh, he belonged to y'all? Oh, the bag was just sitting in the corner. We didn't think it belonged to nobody. We was about to throw it away." He walked out of there with us. But if you love our people and not just a person, you know I still was crying. Because you know he didn't walk into the courtroom by himself. It was 7 more orange jumpsuits. And I couldn't testify on their behalf. And it wasn't like it was a line of people outside the door waiting to get in. All we had to do was claim him. They didn't ask a whole lot of details. They didn't care. They was about to throw him away. They just saw us there and said, "Oh, he belonged to somebody. You can have him. We got plenty." So I've been doing some work with Susan Taylor around national mentoring movements. And one of the things that she says that really has struck me from city to city, she's got 59, 60 cities now that she's recruited black folks to mentor black children, because you know they don't have black folks to mentor black children. They got all kind of billions of dollars for mentoring, but they don't got us. So she, in going out trying to call folks to the call, she just said, the village is on fire. Like, what else do I have? Let me put it, what did Malcolm say? Make it plain. It's on fire. Now, notwithstanding what our sister Crystal said in her beautiful prayer, it's some amazing young people, and we don't hear and talk enough about them. We don't claim them enough, because everything I am is because from the elementary school play to the dance recital, it was a whole bunch of my family in the front row. Everything I am is because of that. Because they didn't just show up when I got in trouble. They showed up for anything I did that halfway looked like, oh, baby, that one line you said in the Easter play was so good. So you know I wasn't going to miss the Easter play? Because Auntie gave me some candy, and this one gave me $1. The Easter play was the come up. They claim me. That's my grandbaby. That's my great aunt be at everything. Auntie Helen, right there. Yeah, you know, when she was little, we knew. She told me the last time I was home speaking that my great-grandfather used to look at me on the porch running something. Definitely my mouth. I don't know what else I was running. And he said to her, I just wish I could live long enough to see what she gonna do. See, that's the kind of faith our babies need. Everything I am is because of that faith. And it's I don't have to give, this will say, I don't have to give you the statistics and the gloom and doom and all the stuff that our babies are facing. Can I just say the village is on fire? From Oakland to Omaha. I went to Omaha, Nebraska, and started doing some of the work because, you know, I felt like we got some good folks doing the work in Oakland. Y'all, we all right. We got at least a tipping point, the minimum of what we need. And they called me and said, come out here to Omaha. We got some violence issues. And I was like, really? And I went to Omaha, Malcolm's birthplace. Beautiful, beautiful plans to commemorate Malcolm in an amazing parcel of land. And I went out there and I did what I do with the children. I did a workshop with them talking about violence, and I might as well, if I had closed my eyes, I would have been in Oakland. The exact same issues, the exact same concerns, the level of, just feeling abandoned. And I cried a lot. I went home in the hotel room and I just cried. Because you could have never convinced me. When I got on the plane, destination Omaha, I had a picture in my mind. It wasn't no different. And it made me really think about the systemic forces, right? Because, they ain't got to do no research for us to tell what the media has been doing to our children. They might not see the connection between the video games and the violence, but come on, you late to the party. Because it only becomes an epidemic when it happens to their babies. You understand? We've been having school shootings in Detroit in the 80s. But it wasn't until Columbine that it was a national conversation. They've been killing our kindergartners. So we don't take nothing away from the tragedy in Newton. But I was kind of grateful, because, I had to watch sort of side-eye, that President Obama did mention Chicago when he was talking. I said, it's about time. Come on now. You know, it wasn't just community. You had a reason to be organizing the community when you was community organizing. Now, you know, I know. Everybody else ain't got to know. But I heard Jeremiah Wright preach. I know what you got. I'm just wondering when you're going to play the big joker. You've been holding the cards. I know what you know. What did somebody say when they was after him? You know, see, now he ain't got no church. He's a Muslim and all of that. They didn't think he was a Muslim, no, when he was campaigning the first time. It was all about Jeremiah Wright. I heard Jeremiah Wright. And I agree with the folks for once. It ain't no way you can sit up in that church every single week and not get some of what he was teaching. I'm just saying. So, another story that I want to tell about a young person at Leadership Excellence is also really instructive for a piece I want to get into a little bit this morning. One of my favorite young brothers, Sid Howard, is a special mentee. You know, you got them ones, right? And he came to Camp Achilles just defiant. Those are the ones I like. Everybody don't have to work with those. But a few of us, we like a challenge, you know, we like a little step it up. I've been working with young people since I was a young person. And so, you know, he came and he had his attitude and we just loved him up. We just claimed him. And he was like, on the last day of the camp, he said to me, he said, I don't want to go home. Because I got my grandma, but ain't nobody going to love me or listen to me like that there. I don't want to go back to High Street. There's people trying to kill me out there. And it was like sometimes we give our young people just enough to open up their consciousness, and then they go, now what? But he did, and we worked with him. And he used to come to my office at Leadership Excellence over when we were on 17th in downtown and just hang out. Because it was just someplace else to be besides High Street. And he would just hang out and ask me, could he go get my lunch? And you know how it is. We just like to, you know, be with anybody that's happy to see us coming. His brother Sid walk in, I'm like, Brother Sid, I'm so happy to see you coming. And then about 2 months of that, I said, okay, now, what you gonna do? When you gonna get your GED? And he was like, well, you know, I just like coming in here, you know, over there. And I was like, oh, no. Because, see, here's what I know. If all I give you is love, eventually you're going to be sleeping on my couch. You're going to be asking for the keys so you can stay up in here at night. That's not going to work. The short term, right, I'm good with that. But that's not going to work as a long-term program. And so he was coming, and then after a while, he stopped coming. And I was sad. But, you know, love is not always, you know, flowers and kisses. It's not always what y'all call it, huggy time, huggy kissy time. Sometimes it's hard. And I, you know, I sent people out, go over to High Street, see how Brother Sid is doing, see what's going on. I ain't seen him. It's been a few months, and I was getting really worried. And one day, Brother Sid comes into the office, and I just started to, did I say I cried a lot? I just started to cry. He just walked in, and I was like, you know, I just didn't want you to leave, and you should have told me, called me, tell me you're all right. And he handed me a picture of him in his cap and gown. Yeah. And I still keep that picture on my wall to this day. That was many years ago. When I talk to educators, and what happened with me and Brother Sid is he needed an assignment. I gave him an assignment. I love you, you love me. It's great that you feel safe up here at LE, and it's some business that comes with this. It's some work involved in freedom. When I talk to educators or other folks about working with young people, I try to, I was with my sister Nedra, who's the founder of Leadership Excellence, along with Sean Jim Wright, the other night, and she said she hates acronyms. I love them. I always got a little acronym going. So the one I tell the educators about working with young people that I'll share with you this morning is my only rule in all my workshops. I say, if you keep it real with me, I'll keep it real with you. That's it. Because that's what young people want. They want us to just be who we really are. Just tell the truth. And we sometimes so into the look good. That's why they don't feel like they can relate to us. Because all we talk about is how good it was where we came from. Now we know it wasn't all good. So when they're struggling, they don't think we're going to understand their struggle. And Lord knows they are wrong as wrong can be. We'd have been through something to get here. My grandfather used to say, I ain't lived as long being stupid. I know something about something. So we say keep it real. And for me, real is relationship, education, activism, and love. So we start with relationship. They're in an order for a reason. Because what is that expression they say? People don't care what you know until they know that you care. If I don't tell you nothing else about your babies out here, they got to know that you care. See, sometimes when I'm talking about youth work, the elders get a little rattled. They get a little offended. I ain't got to go to them. I don't have to listen to them. Understand that somewhere, we don't even have to identify blame right now. The baton got dropped. You're talking about a generation of young people, some of whom are growing up without one caring, responsible adult in their lives. They don't know about a proper elder relationship. We left them in a corner. Their music, hip hop, when it first came out, it had all kind of diversity and variety. I'm going to tell you something. I didn't know who Haile Selassie was till Chuck D said so. I learned about it in a hip hop song. We didn't want nothing to do with hip hop then, though. I used to run a jazz program in Detroit, and Donald Byrd came on the program when it was talking about his work fusing hip hop and jazz, and he made his transition recently, so we just give thanks for him. He came on the show and was talking about it, and the host of the show was like, don't talk about that on here. That ain't music. But see, somebody else saw dollar signs and was like, oh, I know exactly what to do with this. I know who is going to love hearing about the ghetto is the folks in the suburbs. They can't go to Oakland, but they want to hear the stories Too Short want to tell. And they've made millions, billions off our suffering. That's what it is. I tell folks, hip-hop is a safari. It's a safari, commercial hip-hop, not true hip-hop. Because understand there's a difference. That's what I'm trying to articulate. Commercial hip-hop is a safari. It's look at here. Can your mama on crack? Tell me about it. Make a song. Oh, you pimping her. How did that work? Oh, I want to hear about that. Who you killed this week? Oh, look at him. He done killed her. It's not made by us. It's not made for us. It's made about us. For someone else's titillation and enjoyment. We might as well throw the sand out. But why? Because we left them in the corner unclaimed. When they was trying to say fight the power and poor righteous teachers, when they was trying to say all of that, we was like, my mama was the one. Hibbity, hibbity, hop, hop, turn that mess off. It's a whole generation of us that was raised by KRS-One and MC Light, Sister Soldier, Queen Latifah. Yeah, see, they calling them. X-Clan, Grandmaster Flash. They gave us the message. They was talking about what it meant to be African. And we wasn't even trying to hear it. We missed it. And then the powers that be consolidated the music, shut down all the channels, like this is all you can talk about. And that's a whole nother lecture on a whole nother day. We're not even going to get into any more about hip hop today. Relationship was where I started. That's the first, we all keeping it real. And relationship. So we have to be there to listen, because we think we know, but we didn't grow up in the world they're living in. Even me, as a relatively young person, they look at me and like, one of the kids said she had to interview an elder, and she called me. I said, what? Let me introduce you to some elders, but she don't know. Listen, the kids come to me and say, I can't open the door for grandma because she on crack. See, we don't know about no grandma on crack. We don't know nothing about that. You got to listen to what they dealing with, and then you will understand why they don't have the respect for the elders. When they were coming up with the street outreach program in Boston, they said that they had the meeting with the pastors in the community, the spirit folks in the community. And then they had the meeting with the gang leaders in the community. And the gang leader looked at the pastor and he said, we gonna win. And you know, pastors ain't accustomed, them old school pastors ain't accustomed to nobody talking to them like that. What you mean? He said, let me tell you why we gonna win. It's because we gonna be here every day. Y'all might come through once a month with a prayer walk, but I'm going to be on this corner every day. They was claiming them. This is my block. Now, see, it's in our nature to want to claim our back. I tell them right now, don't even bring your children to my house unless they can take direction. Because it ain't a child in this world don't belong to me. I don't care who they are. Your mama could be standing right there, but if she ain't gave you direction, you're going to get some in this house today. Because our children crave structure. They're dying for the opportunity for somebody to just stand up and say, I'm the adult in the situation. I had young girls challenge me, and then they don't know, so they come with all their fire. Who you talking to me? I got somebody on the way up here for you right now. Tell them they better roll deep. And they don't know about an adult that's willing to stand with them and be unafraid. A little girl came to me and was like, telling me, and she talked to me about the counselors in the program. She said they was disrespectful to her. I turned around and I checked my counselors. You supposed to be the ones that know better. You over here engaging in a one-on-one back and forth with these babies. And then I turned back to the girl and I said, let me tell you something, because she tried to square off on me. Now, they did say in my bio I'm from Detroit, right? We weren't having it, so she squared off on me like she was about to do something to me. And I said, baby, let me explain something to you. I'm not going to put my hands on you. And she looked at me like, okay. I don't know what to do now, but okay. And I said, I'm not going to put my hands on you, not because I'm scared of you, but because you're a child. And I am a grown woman. And I'm sorry that no one has ever made you feel like a child so that you don't know what that is. But that's why I'm not going to put my hands on you, because you are a child. We've got to stand in authority and reclaim our children. They want some adults. You know about herding the bulls, right? Who know about herding the bulls? Oh, good. I love that story. Okay, so this my daddy's story right here. Okay, thank you. Look, Brother Grace, I told him, I said, you got to tell me something. You did. I thank you. Okay, herding bulls, we're gonna bring it around home. We ain't even got to education, active, none of it. Okay, all right. I'm coming back to it. We got to talk about herding the bulls, though. So among elephants, they had a group of male elephants that were running wild, killing folks, tearing up the jungle, just running wild. And so the anthropologists went in to study, well, what is going on with these group of male elephants? And they discovered that poachers had killed off all the adult males in the community for their tusks. So you had these group of young elephants running wild. So what did they do? They went to another community and got some adult males, and as soon as they put one adult male, order was restored. It's enough people in this room. Change all of Oakland. Because there was 70 of these young people out here at this camp with us, and it might have been 10 adults. But one that's willing to say, I'm the adult and you the child. And it did help that I had, 8 or 9 behind me. Because we need to do this thing together. Because Baba Greg can't do it all. Eli Almade can't do it all. We have relationship. When we have relationship, we push. Like I pushed Sid out the door. We got to get them some education. They need some skills. I did in ministerial school, they make us study all the different religions. I was studying the religions, and I had to study the Amish. And they were talking about how they don't have education beyond the 8th grade. And when they said why, they said because we're not trying to prepare our children to live in that world. We are trying to prepare our children to be successful in the Amish community. And Aristotle is not required for that. And it was like, there's a lot of issues I might have with the Amish, but I felt where they were coming from. They're like, we're going to teach you for your whole life about what it means to be part of this community. We're not concerned with you passing everybody else's standards for learning. I was like, woo. Activism, we have to teach them to care about something beyond themselves. Because that's how we get more hands in this work. That's how we get more hands in this work. And love, that's the foundation. Because they're not trying to hear nothing we talking about when we come in preaching, looking down at them, talking about how their pants are sagging. That's not where you start. You start with relationship. Then they automatically pull their pants up when they come around you. If you start with relationship and love as your foundation, then they go out and get the GED just because you suggested it. I heard that today is the anniversary of our passing of our beloved sister Harriet Tubman. She saw something that wasn't there. She saw something that didn't even exist, but she knew it to be true. See, we at least have a memory of the time in which our children were our precious jewels. All we got to do is go back to what we came from. We are the ones who know what it's supposed to look like. That's what this whole place is about. She imagined something she had never seen and went and got everybody that she could. She said she could have freed 1,000 more if they had just known that they was enslaved. She went and got everybody that she could and took them through the darkest night in the most dangerous places, but she gave every one of them an assignment. You watch here. You lead this way. You make sure nobody's straggling. You've heard a little bit about my history, but what you may not know is Say is the first church I ever came to in the Bay. I was pregnant with my daughter, who is now 15. Who won a prize for the Freedom School spelling bee right here in this room. You may not know that my godson, Nassar, is a student at Eli Almade. You may not know that when I took the kids to Africa, we had the ceremony right here when they came home and told their stories. See, I claim Say. You may never see me before in this room, but I claim Say because I know I know I'm African. When I'm in ministerial school, I'm studying all this metaphysics and all this stuff and everything, and they're trying to teach me, and I called Baba Greg. I said, I got to know my roots. I can't have somebody teaching me the after effects. It's like when I was in college and they had me wearing the Greek letters, and I was like, ugh. How can I frame this in some kind of way? Because I know better. I was taught to double study. Right, whatever they teaching me in the classroom, I got to go read Shaka Auntie D up on the side because they're not going to give me that. I was taught to double study. So I knew what the Greeks stole, and I used to say, well, we giving back what the Greeks stole or something to make it work for me. But I was longing for somebody to teach me my stuff. I claim Wose. What's my assignment?
Yeah. We're not playing. We give thanks for Sister Dereca and Jennifer and everybody who came into this space today. You're always welcome. You will be invited back for part 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the next election. And, you know, it's encouraging because when we hear, a lot of times I think it was that we don't realize the impact we've had over the years. But we've influenced a lot of people, including ourselves. So it's a blessing to be in this space. Again, remind you for next week, 10:30, we will not be here at all. Brother Manu's class picks up 2 weeks, 2 Sundays from now. One more session? Or 2 more sessions, or 3? I mean, you know, you take how much. At least one. At least. Is it 2 more sessions? Okay. So, yes, that's right. All right. So a couple more sessions. Okay. All right. Cool. And we hope you have a great week. Any Ileoma Day announcements for this week? Yeah, Mama Pam.
There's a snow trip this Friday coming up. And if you've never been in the snow or you want to go to snow or you want to be a kid again in the snow, we have spaces on the bus. I don't know how long that's going to last. So if you want to go there, that would be great. That's the assignment. And I know the story. I have to tell you a couple stories about that.
Yeah. Any other announcements before we close out?
I just wanted to say that I'm taking a group to Ethiopia in August, the land of Kush. So next Saturday, I'm doing an orientation at Merritt College from 4 to 5. Next Saturday.
All right. Excellent. Mommy, you.
I will be passing out a sign-up sheet for food for next week because we collaboratively bring the food for next week. Okay, so there's a sign-up sheet. Please put your name on there.
5th Saturday of this month be a cleanup day, community cleanup. We always come and spruce up and paint and mop and do whatever we need to do. But the 5th Saturday, starting I think at 9 o'clock. So it's Tracy.
And 5th Saturday cleanup is coming just in time for our the revival of our BICO classes. So that will be a day at Wose where we focus on family. And I think Barbara Gregg's plan is to do a presentation as well that's family-centered. So we're inviting and encouraging families to come out, and we will be holding our first BICO in a long time. So Mama Fanya, Mama Kanke, and I will be teaching Sunday.
So 5th Saturday cleanup.
Cleanup day and Sunday, we'll
Sunday,
welcome everybody
family
to
and
Family
BICO.
Day.
Yeah, excellent. Any other announcements before we close out? All right, please stand. And Ms. Tracy, you want to say something about first time?
We
Yes,
want
is
to
that why
welcome
you're
our
rolling?
first-time visitors to Wose, and we appreciate your presence and you staying to participate in service with us. Every Sunday, we break bread after service, so we invite you to stay for a meal, break bread with us, and get to know our community on a more intimate level. And I have first-time visitor packets for the first-time visitors, and I think, Jennifer, you a first-time visitor? Yes. And we have another first-time visitor?
I'm really a stranger, but I've never been to a circus.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll give you a packet, and I'll get you a packet. Well, I know this is your first time, so welcome. We certainly appreciate
And
you.
well, thanks to Zepco for being here. The music last night was amazing.
Yes.
Those of you may know that there was Diamond Corps did their annual collage program. Sister Kelly is part of that group. Mama Rose, that whole family is part of that group. And Saint Abu and her little brother, you know, y'all know them. That little brother, he played the floor. You don't need no drum. He's like, he played the floor. And okay. And I want to thank you all for the music. It was beautiful. It was beautiful last night. So this is a moment where if you have on your heart that you'd like to join this community, this is a moment for you to be able to step forward and say that you would like to be a part of this more formally. So is there anyone who would like to step forward? Brother Hassan. All right. And you mentioned
Well, there's a lot on my heart, but I'm not going to talk for that long. Yeah, it's very beautiful. It's very healing, and yeah. there's a
Welcome
lot
back.
to say.
Give
Thank you.
thanks.
Yes.
Everyone.
Now start the after service and get some information.
Oh, and Mama and Gina pointed out that we have a tradition that after service we all make sure we give Brother
Love.
Hassan some love as a welcome to our community.
All right, lift every voice and sing.
Every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the roaring sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Now to the ones who are able to keep us from falling, the ones who have taught us for countless generations that we are one people, having one faith, one aim, one destiny, one God. Let's call that name that our ancestors taught us for countless generations. Let us all say, Amen.